Hello, everybody, and welcome to the NSX Summer Cup Round 5 season finale here at Laguna Seca. There's a championship battle in pro, and things are not done in silver either. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by special guest Ryan Mawson today for the finale. And as always, our broadcaster, Jake the Bosmeister Boswell. Ryan Mawson, welcome into the comms box again. And today, a championship to be decided and 5 points in it between the top two. It couldn't get better than this.
Yeah, I heard it was quite a good championship. I thought we'll come have a look at what's going on. The NSX got a car that barely anyone drives nowadays. It's very rare that you see one of these in a main sort of league battle, as it was. They've sort of been pushed to the back and forgotten about. But at some tracks they still do reign supreme. You put everyone in, it just makes the driving and the racing so much more interesting. It's not necessarily everyone's car, but those who can handle it will really make this thing fly. And Laguna Seca, welcome to sausage curbs galore. And if you've got your championship riding on that, every time you go through one of those air pixes, you're going to have both eyeballs on those sausage curbs, because I swear they leap out at you.
Well, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Ryan Gill and Mr. Mike Jones, bit of a sadist. They don't necessarily make things easy for the drivers, and ending here at Laguna Seca is just about the tallest order you could imagine. So it's a very quick lap, it's a very difficult lap, and like you said, sausage curbs everywhere. Just in the time it took folks at home for our RCI intro to play, to the point where we said good evening to you all, we saw no less than 4 cars hop a curb and go into the dirt, and this is just practice. This doesn't even matter, Mawson. They're going to be all over this track in qualifying. Qualifying could be make or break tonight.
Absolutely, and you can see already, I mean, looking at the 725 of Chamberlain, these cars, they are really, really twitchy on the limit. The nose just having a slight wiggle there out of what is turn 3, I believe. And on qualifying, you're going to want every single percent you can possibly get out of these cars. But they are not easy to drive. They're not everyone's. And here we go, keep it in a straight line. And there you go. That is how easy you can go off at Laguna Seca. And there's not a lot of runoff. I mean, from our broadcast cameras, it looks like you have at least a little bit. But I can tell you that, having driven here multiple times, when you're in the car and hurtling along at a great rate of knots, those walls come up pretty quick.
I was always told, in relation to asking the question, if I miss the apex, what do I do? Do I try to round off the corner? Do I stop and brake and try to get back on the line? And the answer I always get is, well, you don't have a choice. You miss the apex, you're going off. And that's pretty much it. It is a one-groove racetrack. There is a couple exceptions to that. You can get away with it here in the, I believe this is the Andretti hairpin here in turn 1 is what they call it. You can actually run wide here and sort of diamond off the corner and get an excellent run in between 1 and 2, and that can set you up for 2 and 3. So one of the very few exceptions. You definitely don't want to be wide anywhere else, especially here in 3. You got to get that perfect. Saw a car hit the curb there so hard they went into the barrier. Watson, you're telling us in pre-racing you've done that in a race before, and it's very unpleasant.
Yeah, I did it in a endurance race in a GT4 Porsche. The GT4s obviously have naturally more understeer, so I turned in nice and early, expecting the car to give a bit of understeer, and it didn't. It gripped up, turned in, and I smashed the that sausage curb with the front of the car, and I distinctly remember my view entirely disappearing and only seeing sky for about a second before the nose of the car came crashing down. And I remember that there was an RCI endurance car behind me, and I'm just thinking, oh no, what I'm gonna ruin these guys' race. It was certainly interesting, and here we go, pirouetting around, and bonk. Well, at least they're now pointing the right way.
Well, for them, lucky enough that the session is over. Everybody getting in their final lap. In fact, Peter Roche, the only car still out on the track, and goes ahead and puts it into the dirt there. Qualifying starting for the series finale. 20-plus cars on track for you here tonight for the finale. And post-qualifying, we will have a full breakdown of the standings. This being the final race, there is a lot of emphasis on starting spot. It couldn't have come at a worse time. Remember earlier when I said that some of the admins that think these things up are a bit sadistic. Think about this. There's a couple of points in it for the Pro Series championship, and even in silver where there's not, one accident here can completely take you out of it. It is, of course, very close confines, very fast lap. All these things can lead to one simple mistake that you would normally get away with at most FIA Formula One grade circuits. You're not going to get away with it here. How many times just in that 5 minute span, three, by the way, is the answer. How many times in that span, though, did we see a car go off and get into the wall that just did not have any chance to save it? If you know you're going off, you have that split-second window, Mawson, to say, I have to bail on this, I have to hit my brakes, but trying to save it usually is going to land you in deeper trouble.
Yeah, and the surfaces here, the sand, I don't know if it seems to be a thing specific to Laguna Seca, but I swear the sand here is just like a skating rink. You go off and you lose all steering of the car, all kind of brakes, and a lot of times people will go onto the gravel, panic, and try desperately to get the car back to the circuit, and in doing so cause them more trouble. You often end up looping the car around backwards. It's sometimes better just to accept it and point it straight on. But Nico Kumpu will be the first to set a lap of this absolutely torturous track in the NSX, a car that I don't think I've seen this driver drive before, so it'll be a new one to everyone.
Well, the first lap's so important to get out there. You may pick up on your second and third lap around here. It's not a one-shot qualifying. Certainly with 15 minutes, you get a lot of time here, a lot of laps to try and get the quick one in. And usually you go out there, you dial it in, you understand how much grip you have, and if you do make mistakes on your first lap, you get a couple of opportunities to make that up, and of course the tire pressures build as well. So we're not looking for an outright pass this lap, but this will be the bar set for Nico Kumpu here. He's racing for going backwards, but well, he is still, at the time being, going forwards. We have seen several cars go backwards here so far this evening, and hopefully they will not join them. Kumpu, as they round the corkscrew, and now the final couple of corners, as we've already had several drivers in turn 4 and 5 reset due to the trickiness of that corner. We haven't even talked about turn 5 yet, really, but off the final corner, a 90 left, and up the front straightaway that is not straight, and it's also uphill. What is Kumpu set for the initial lap? The mark to beat is going to be invalidated, as it turns out, I'm pretty sure. But actually, no, that did count. It's going to be a 23-second lap there, as I don't think we have our timings up on the board for you, so we do apologize for that. Kumpu slots into third, Bauer second, and Ataberk Ertan, the championship leader in Pro, does go quickest of all, a 22.398, 2/10, nearly a quarter of a second faster than Bauer. That's exactly what Ertan needs.
Yeah, that's before even any of the pressures have come up, and the track is actually still fast, so there'll be, I still think, a little bit of time. And there we go, there's that sausage curb we said about. Into the gravel you go for Ertan, gets the car just about, but you can see it, they really want to slide around on you on that gravel. It's so slick, but that in the race is going to make or break someone's championship. I can feel it at this corner. It's incredibly hard when you're sat in the car as well, because you might say at home that, well, I can see the apex, it's all fine. You're actually coming up a hill there, and that apex is pretty much blind. You have to turn in and, well, hope that it's still there.
I think the thing I tell people, especially people new to this particular track, is don't let the TV cameras fool you. There is so much undulation here. It is almost like being on a roller coaster. It certainly, the corkscrew is like being on a roller coaster. So the cameras sort of lie to you. There is so much elevation change here as Olivier Kierten comes to the line, the 5th fastest time, a 22.752, and the quickest in silver. That's what Kierten needs in the 38. What does Giuseppe D'Anna have? Pole position, 22.344. The track's still fast, but what a blistering lap. Goes ahead and knocks Ertan off of the pole position by half a tenth. Excellent job.
Yeah, the NSX sort of has its weird tracks. It does seem to be much happier, though, when you take it to an IGTC track. Whether the drivers are happier when you take it to an IGTC track, yeah, that's something to be discovered later. Maybe after the race, we'll go and ask them. But it does seem to really fly when it comes to it. Peter Roche, another lap, another 2/10 off his best, just about lapping around. Sometimes you've got to watch out for these types of drivers in the race. There's always sort of a couple of types of drivers I find. You've got those who are absolute qualifying machines who will put in a blazing lap, but their race pace is a bit up and down, and you get the people who will just do the same lap over lap over lap. And I think here that might be a better skill to have. You know, staying away from those curbs, managing to bang out the same lap over and over and over again. Someone's going to fall off the road, and basically, if you don't, position for you.
Bauer improves a 22.4 there, and this man, Harley Chamberlain, for the Jardier community team, went quickest in silver and third overall. As a fantastic run for Harley Chamberlain. Could this possibly be even quicker for Chamberlain this time? And it is quicker. Second overall, 12/100ths off of Giuseppe D'Anna's time. And does Ertan start to get a little nervous now, I wonder?
Maybe so. Obviously not racing in his category, but Ertan needs a good race today. He knows that not that far behind as well is that 69 of Andy Boardman, who so far 6/10ths off the lead, but with the trap now switching to optimum, that might just be what he needs. I think that we're going to see these times come down even more and more.
Well, Alex Pilbeam was in our chat pre-race. He was lamenting how he did not have a ton of confidence. He didn't also like the circuit as well. He's down in 14th place. He actually practiced quicker than that, so I suspect a pickup there. And like you said, now track's optimum, 25 degrees C track and ambient. It's a pretty excellent evening for racing, all told. 7 after 7 in the evening, I should say. Giuseppe D'Anna still on the pole position for the race and in pro, but Chamberlain will currently share the front row with him as a silver driver. Mahalan second, Hopner in third, and all the way back and forth is Kierton, which that's still good enough for the 38. That's still good enough in silver to win Olivier Kierton the championship. So no panic set in there as Minnow Crozen comes across the line 13th quickest after that improvement. And here is Bart Macha, who was feeding us some inside tips earlier about what he thought everyone's strategy was going to be.
Yes, apparently so. So we'll have to keep an eye on what the drivers will actually do. A lot of people here, though, or at least Bart was saying, thinking that the no stop might actually be the fastest time. It's possible, especially if it keeps nice and cool. I think that we'll have to watch what the temperatures are doing in the actual race session. If it was so blistering hot, then I would say that take tires. It's not exactly a nice track on your tires, not with how much lateral force you put them through some of the corners, like the corkscrew. They really start heating up by, after the corkscrew going down the hill, that long left-hander that's putting so much force on the right side of the tires. But yeah, I think actually calculating it out, he might be right. Let's see what that does for championships, eh?
Well, I've learned my lesson. Never bet against Bart Macha in strategy. The man is an absolute genius when it comes to strategy. It almost always works out. Even whenever he said in the past, well, I was unsure about that, but I was operating on a hunch, or I thought that might work. It always seems to go Macha's way. What an asset his team has in him. Andy Boardman does go 7th though in the 69. That 22.854. Better part of half a second off the overall pace by Giuseppe D'Anna, that 22.326. We've seen a lot of people pick up, but Giuseppe's not one of them. That's interesting because we'd expect that optimum track. I'm pretty sure Giuseppe set that time before it was optimum.
I think so, yeah. I think it was just before we officially switched over the statuses.
Well,
yeah.
He shut me up because he just ran a quicker lap at 22.218. Now, that's more like it. That's exactly. See, that's what you got to do. You got to motivate the drivers, Moss. You got to talk about them, get them going, and then all of a sudden they will kick it into high gear. Adalbert Ertan does not go quicker 1.5 tenths slower than his fastest lap, finds himself about 2 tenths off the overall pace. Chamberlain still hanging on into second place. That's the story for me, is Harley Chamberlain's excellent run here. You know what they say, there are courses for horses, Mawson.
Yeah, and it's obviously Chamberlain's day, really showing what they can do. You know, silver driver, but definitely sticking it to some of the pros today. We've always said that in RCI. A lot of the times, it's not about a silver driver's pace; it is their consistency. So sometimes you'll see these silver drivers are just not as sharp as some of the pros, and they will slowly eke away. Doesn't mean though that they can't race them.
Well, we saw Simon Bauer go up to second, 27/100ths off the overall pace. An excellent job. Giuseppe Deanna is going to come to the line, but Olivier Kierton came into second place in silver, 6 tenths off the overall pace. And it's going to be a 21.990 for Giuseppe Deanna. Now that is a monster lap.
That is absolutely flying. I mean, we're going to have to get the marshals with the fire extinguisher over there to, to cool the car off. And immediately smashed down by Atabek Ertan. A 21.801. That is absolutely blistering. But he's going again. We've got 3 minutes left to go. A couple more laps. Is there anything left in the tank for Ertan?
Well, not after he dipped the tire off. I know it sounds a bit silly, but you dip a tire off into the dirt here, and it just completely destroys your lap time. So much rolling resistance on the dirt. So they will get at least one more lap, probably two more. Giuseppe Deanna, you just saw coming through that shot, went into the pit lane, reset. I'm assuming either made some changes or just got some fresh boots on that car, and is now back out, now into the second place position as Ertan with that monster lap, a 21.8. Absolutely fantastic. We were starting to worry about Ertan a little bit, but now all of those fears have been resolved. Pace in reserve, apparently, for the 14. Bart Macha up to 7th place, 22.539. Time ticking down here, 2 minutes to go. Does Giuseppe have something for Ertan?
Yeah, well, it did take quite a while for Giuseppe to improve. I'm wondering if that's might be all that Honda has got for them. But I mean, looking at the times that we're doing, you are really now starting to get to the edge of what these machines are maybe capable of. You know, a lot of the times the Honda is not the favorable car that people will go and choose for any sort of track. Even a lot of the IGTC tracks, you see a lot of people around Laguna Seca opting for your Porsches, the Bentley, Aston Martin maybe, and then the usual, the mid-engine crowd are like the Ferraris. But yeah, the Honda's always sort of just been shoved away and forgotten about. And can this man actually do anything as well? Harley Chamberlain still in first in silver by quite a margin, but we did see some amazing early on pace in the session. I'm just wondering if they might have, you know, that one magical lap left in.
Well, Hopner has beat Kierton for second place in silver, 8th and 9th respectively. And something we did not see is you see Harley Chamberlain go off into the dirt. That will be an abandoned lap. But fortunately for Chamberlain, they will get one more timed lap. So will Deanna, who lost it in the corkscrew on their out lap. You have to wonder if that damaged the tires at all. But still out there is the number 11. In fact, going through turn 3 and 4 right now. So a little bit of a mistake by the 11. Still continuing, getting in that final timed lap. 40 seconds left to play. All flying laps will count, of course. This is the season finale for the NSX Cup. Please stay tuned after the race to hear the next Monday championship. You're going to love it. You're going to want to watch that. Definitely, Mawson going to be one of those, the next Monday champ. It's going to be one of those that even if I'm not here in the booth, I'm still going to be watching it because it's a bit of an oddball, and I think that's great. That's what we do best here at RCI. We don't let you necessarily get comfortable some of the time, and a lot of these drivers, of course, have been more than up to the challenge this season. It's been fantastic to watch. Several cars abandoning their lap here, nearly half the field or more already in the pit lane. Ertan cannot improve and has reset the pit lane. So is the 11 and Bauer, the top three in the pit lane. But Bart Macha on a lap here. Could this potentially bump them up further into the field? Seventh currently, and all the way to fourth for the connection loss driver, a 22.329. And that is more like Bart Macha. What does Pitchick have? Haven't talked about Pitchick at all today in the 141 qualifying. Can they bump themselves up? They will indeed. Seventh place, a 22.524. An excellent pickup on the final lap. Well, Tobias Hopner has taken second from the championship leader in silver. Could they potentially threaten Chamberlain here? Going completely off the track, and he's going to lose it. That's going to end up in a wall, and that highlights exactly what we were talking about at the end of practice. You make one little mistake, you get offline, you get into the dirt, more often than not, you are going to end up in a wall. We haven't talked about Kumpu much in this session, and the 25 coming to the line will be the final car, completing a lap down in 13th. Would very much like to be in the top 10. Can they do it? No, they cannot. No improvement for Kumpu in the 25. Well, if the race is half as good as qualifying was, I think we're in for a treat here.
Absolutely. Just some of those times towards the end as well, they were absolutely tumbling as the drivers got more and more accustomed to the sort of the track conditions. But yeah, this race is going to be so interesting to play. Do you go for the safe route? Know that you're not going to try push it to every single percentage and avoid those massive sausage curbs, or are some of the drivers going to see that lovely timer at the top? They're going to want that lap time again. Then they're going to push it right to the limit. I think it's a lot of the top of the field are going to go for the latter. So we're going to see some hairy moments, I think.
Well, we promised you the standings for the championship. Of course, this is race 5 of 5, and here is how they have cycled out and sorted out for the first 4 events. Starting with the pro class, Atterberg Ertan, 203 championship points to Ollie Pitchick's 198. That's just about 5 points, if my math serves me right. And of course, there is a 7-point difference between winning the race and finishing second. That doesn't include, obviously, a point for qualifying and all of that. So just based on points in general, that's how that works out. And with 5 points, go ahead and count that as a position. Peter Roche not too far behind either, only about 20 or so. And that's as good as 4 or 5 positions, all still in it. Giuseppe D'Anna is a bit of a long shot. Giuseppe would have to win. Atterberg Ertan would have to finish pretty much dead last. And then behind him, you have Krosman, Boardman, Macha, Leffa, Bauer, who's missed a couple of races this season, but has always been fast out on the track, and Valentin Beria, who is taking no further part in the championship. And behind them, of course, the drivers that have had a less than stellar championship, Kumpu, Sider, Maurer, Cormac, Ryan Meenan, and Van Kampen. Only one of those drivers, as far as I know, is actually in this race today. Moving on to the silver championship, things are a bit more spread out. It's been a bit more civil, so to speak. Perhaps a bit more predictable as well. Olivier Kierton in the 38, 246 points to Harley Chamberlain's 206 points. It's not insurmountable, that lead, but Kierton would have to have a pretty terrible race, and Chamberlain would have to win at least 6 or 7 positions difference between the two of them. Alex Palma, I don't believe, taking part in the race today. Behind them, Tobias Sontag, Pilbeam, Hopner, Mahalan, Redford, Crozen, and Knight, your top 10. And a lot of those positions, only a handful of points between them. A position could certainly matter in the overall standings for them. Behind them, of course, Sergio Sardi and Abakumov, the only other drivers that have not retired from the championship. Everyone else here has retired at this point. Well, there you have it. Those are the championship points for the final 75 minutes in the season. Ryan Mawson, what are you looking for in this race?
Hopefully, no Skywards NSXs bouncing off the sausage curbs. I think a big part of this as well is going to be that tire management. If people are trying to go for the one stop approach, you still do have to look after your tires if you're going to go for that. It might be the fastest, but it's only the fastest if you can make that strategy work. Definitely going to have to keep our eye on the 404, that Bart Matcha car. You know, the strategy master. He might swoop in to grab that right at the end. Other than that, though, I really don't know what to expect. It's going to be some great racing. Matched machinery racing always does bring out quite the good motorsport, I think, because you're all the same. You're in the same vehicles. No one's got the advantage under brakes or acceleration or anything. It is, can you outsmart the driver in front of you, and how much confidence you have in that car? And it's always what I love to see.
Well, for me today, the keys to the race are very simple. Adalbert Gertan knows exactly what he has to do. He has to stay out in front of the 141. Fortunately for him, Ola Pitchik is starting in 7th place. So not an immediate threat, but how many times did we see a lot of these top drivers, Ertan, Diana, Bauer, uh, Maurer, and Pitchik as well, all throw their cars off of the road? For Adalbert Ertan, my key to the race is very simple. Keep it on the island. It is the fundamental number one thing about racing. Keep the car on the track, keep the car in the race. If Ertan can do that, I think he has a better than good shot at taking this championship. But you know as good as I do, Ryan Mawson, one trip off the track could be your last.
Yeah, generally, you never have a small crash at Laguna Seca. It's always a monumental crash. As soon as you begin to gone off, that's it. And that could very easily meatball someone's car. As I said in practice, championships are on the line here, entirely dependent on those sausage curves.
It very much is. Well, for those of you that are just joining us, well, you joined us at the right time. Getting ready for the series finale for the NSX Cup. Glad that you're with us on your Monday evening. Hope you're well wherever you are in the world. 75 minutes to decide a champion. This man right here, Adalbert Ertan, holds a very tangible, I believe it's now a 6-point lead over Ola Pitchik for the championship in pro, and Kierton has a commanding 40-point lead in the silver championship as well, but they both still have to perform here today. And of course, we would not be here if it wasn't for all of our excellent partners: Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec, and Sim Racing GP. You can get a discount off of driver coaching at Driver 61 by using our discount code. Link in the description. And a big thank you to all of our partners that make these races possible. And oh my goodness, exhale, inhale, stay calm. I know, of course, we have live stewards as we always do here. They're hoping for a calm lap one, but quite frankly, I don't think we're going to get that.
No, I don't think so. I think the stewards are going to have some work to do. And as usual with our live stewarding events, you cannot escape the almighty eyes of the stewards. Things that we miss, I'm pretty sure will be handed on in a piece of paper on our desk. So you can't get away with any of your racing driver antics, gentlemen. You must keep calm, keep your nose clean, and hopefully we'll all get around lap one and get through the corkscrew, all still with most of the NSXs with all of their parts and not missing bits of carbon fiber and wings and, jaw mirrors.
Well, we are 2 turns away from lighting the candle on the final race of the season. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Ryan Mawson and Jake the Bosmeister Boswell behind the cameras with you today. And in the box adjacent to us, as we just mentioned, a whole host of stewards. So good evening to them as well, and thank them for their work, because of course we couldn't do it without them. Rounding the final turn 2x2, front row, Ertan and Diana will lead them off down into turn 1. Ertan in the inside lane, Bauer, Macha make up the second row. Chamberlain and
Green
Pitchick
light, green
the
light, shut up,
third
let go.
row. Who's going to get the run down into turn one? Can anybody potentially go around the outside into the hairpin? We're green for the final race in the NSX Cup, and everybody running down into turn one, still side by side, Ertan and Diana. Ertan gets clear and now is under fire from Bauer behind.
Yeah, Ertan getting the good launch that he needed, and Anna having to actually defend from Bauer. Number 4, the 13 really wants that place. The 11 just about manages to hang on to that. Everyone's cycling out. But it is such a tight first couple of laps around here until everyone sort of gets their own little space. People are going to want to make these early passes. A lot of times here, track position is key. There is not many places you can overtake.
Oh!
Number 11 going off early, keeps it on the road. And that's the other thing, you've got to watch the cold tires here. You have practically no grip to what you did in qualifying.
Well, Macha here as a car goes off in the background. Was that Maurer in the 9 or was that Pitchick? Not sure, but what I was going to say is Macha all over the back of Bauer here. They sorted out for the closer corners as they run back to the flag for the first lap. And Diana not going anywhere off the back of Ertan. If anything, that battle has tightened up ever so slightly as they all sorted out single file at the end of lap 1. Only minor calamity. I think the stewards will be proud of that.
Yeah, for an opening lap at Laguna Seca, normally you expect a lot more carnage, but other than maybe 1 or 2 cars going off, that's that. First lap completed, and it looks like the top 5 are starting to make a small breakaway train. The 69 of Andy Boardman still in the background, but you can't discount what other drivers' strategies are. These guys could be going with the stop and running no fuel, so they'll obviously be lighter. We just don't know until around about that halfway mark.
You're absolutely right, Mawson, and Diana all over the back of Ertan here. We'll have to see how Ertan plays this. By the way, for those of you playing at home, we only made it 5 turns before our car went off into the dirt tonight, and I think that's pretty much going to set the tone. I'm pretty sure the 777 of Mahalan was the car that went off in the corkscrew the last time by virtue of them being last by a significant margin. I'm pretty sure they started somewhere near the middle of the pack. Chamberlain holding on to 5th and the lead in silver. Hopner in 11th, 2nd in silver, and Kierton has fallen back to 14th, but still 3rd in the class. That would be good enough to win the championship. And as it stands, Ertan doing everything he needs to win the championship. Diana is sort of rather beside the point. It's superfluous at this point. Ertan could let Diana go by, but is that what he's thinking about right now?
Absolutely not. I don't think. I think a lot of racing drivers, when you get up to that part of the field, you know, everyone is very similar pace. You just want to keep your position. You don't want to let, you know, someone by just because you want to fight for it. So I don't think that Ertan's going to be sort of, you know, pulling over and waving through anytime soon. I think that's going to be a fight who dares wins. But we'll have to see what if Anna can keep it under control. That number 11 has already had a slight off into the gravel. Could any more happen? I mean, it's, you know, it's likely with how hard they're attacking. In fact, actually, now as we swap back, they're under attack from Bauer.
They sure are. Our chief steward, Tom Bryant, in our chat, letting us know that the 78 and the 790 had a collision at a turn 2, and the 777 went around on his own in turn 9. And other than that, they're reporting a clean scorecard. So well done, drivers.
Yeah, so obviously the car that went off in the corkscrew were just part and parcel of their own accord, and then came back on with no harm, no foul. A bit of a whoopsies, but you've got to keep your head down. It is a bit of a longer one than we normally do. An hour and 15 as the finales go. Plenty of time yet around this track to make up positions and make up time, and plenty of time for everyone else.
Well, the 78 has towed to pit lane. I think there was more contact between the 970 and the 78, and the 78 has pulled the garage door down. They will take no further part. The 970 has gotten going. This was after the corkscrew. Unknown if that was contact between the two of them, but they were definitely both backwards at different points in the corner.
They also had a brief with yellow flag in sector 1. That's the 27 and the 19. So that's the Zeradi, and where is the 19 even? Like, I haven't seen them on my timing screen. 19.
Well, we're going to go back and look at this incident that we're talking about between the 78 and the 970. See exactly what happened. Oh, yes, indeed.
Oh,
That's turn 2. That's the initial accident and a little additional contact. So that's actually between the 19 and another car. I think that was a 78. And a little bit of contact there. Actually, I believe that was between the 19 and the 27. So that was the turn 2 incident that was reported. And then, of course, more subsequent cars went off, the 970 and the 78. Now the 95 is off in between the penultimate and final turn, but they've got going the right way now. That's Redford.
it's all looking like it's going Curtin's way, though. That's another silver driver.
It's kicking off, Mawson.
Yeah, that he doesn't have to worry about. So that's the 19 all the way down there. And well, I mean, we did expect it to kick off eventually. The drivers got through lap 1, and then, you know, so they did listen to us. We said, please, you know, take it easy on lap 1. But we didn't specify about lap 2, 3, 4, or any of the subsequent laps.
Well, they say whenever you relax, you actually make more mistakes than whenever you're focused. I think there's something to that, and you maybe get into the rhythm a little bit, and mistakes are being made. And is that Boardman off? No, that's Harley Chamberlain, the silver leader. And that will be the surrendering of the 5th place position. Oh, sausage, like you said, Mawson.
Looked like they had a slight slide with the car, and then obviously trying to correct it. The sausage curb was there to just aid them off the track. It was they're thinking, you've caught that slide, that's very good, but actually you're going off the circuit. For them though, it doesn't really change much as the 69ers got around them. That will mean nothing in their championship. They are still first in silver. Just got to now sort of get your head back in the game and continue on. And it did look like they had a slight slide as well through turn 2. Hopefully those tires have not been done from that slide to slide.
By the way, earlier we were talking about would Ertan potentially allow Diana to go by. Obviously that didn't happen, but I love the comment from Andrew Berg in chat. Ertan with a point by, doubt it.
Pretty much. And that is Anna. That is that's number 11 off. We did think that might happen. They've been pushing so hard through that section of the circuit. The blind left-hander, I did think they were going to eventually go off there. They had a small off at the lap 1 and a bit of a bigger one now. So that has promoted the 13 of Bauer up into 2nd place. Can they run away with that now? And for Erton, just looking like, you know, brilliant times.
Yeah, for Ertan, it's all coming to them today. A 2nd win potentially for them. It's hard to believe. They've only had 2 podiums, and one of those was a win out of 5 races. It tells you how tumultuous this season has been. We've been to so many different tracks in the Cup. There's been so much drama in the season that it's part of the reason it's been so close. But Ertan showing up tonight looking like a potential champion-elect, and you got to feel for Giuseppe Diana in that 11. I feel like maybe they have a little bit more raw pace in that car, potentially because they're pushing a little bit harder than Ertan is. But 2 mistakes in the past 6 laps has led them, well, 2 spots down from where they started. They're in 4th place now. Bart Macha squeaked through into the final podium spot now.
Yeah, and I said that I thought that was going to be one of the more key aspects of this race, is just not making those little mistakes. As much as it wasn't a race-ending mistake, you know, we didn't bin the car or anything. It's just small mistakes like that will slowly drop your places. It'll slowly drop your time, and all that while, you know, P1, the person you are fighting, is just scuttling away from you more and more.
Well, Bart Macha is no stranger to the top step of the podium, a winner this season. Their only podium that win, but it was a brilliantly strategized and ran race that led them to the win. Fantastic stuff loved being a part of that call for that race and looking for second place here as we look at the back of or look off the back of Simon Bauer's car. That's Bart Mach's orange and I wouldn't necessarily call that black, orange and gray NSX. Intent there from Bart Macha to get by Bauer.
And as we always said, catching up to someone is one thing and passing them is another thing, especially at Laguna Seca. There's not a tremendous amount of overtaking spots here, and the ones that are around, you have to be very committed to do so. This section, sort of section 2 onwards, is pretty much a a one-line deal. I think I've only ever seen someone go around the outside of the corkscrew once. And this man also did SRO America Esports and won Hungaro Ring, so make of that as what you will.
I saw Mike Noble do it. I think it was on consecutive laps to get up inside the top 3. And I believe my exact call was, I can't do that. How can he do that? That is incredible. Like you gotta really believe in your car, don't you, to make moves like there. I can tell you Hopner in the 19 is already in the pit lane. This doesn't look like a retirement to me, folks. It looks like a pit stop, so potentially strategy going on for the 19. They probably also might have had damage as well, addressing all of those things. And in fact, the 19 of Hopner is rejoining, so pay attention to them. That might end up actually sort of working out. They might gain positions because of the very early stop later on. Well, for Harley Chamberlain, it has not necessarily gone their way. Remember when they started inside the top 5? Well, they're 11th right now and only 2 seconds in front of Silver Championship leader Kierton in the 38. Something amiss for the Jardier Community Team 725 driver.
Well, looking on the magical board of numbers, which we call our broadcast timing screen, they do actually have a pit delta. They spent 1 minute and 8 seconds in the pits, so they have already tripped down pit lane.
Well, that's excellent detective work there, Ryan Mawson, because I wouldn't have assumed that, considering they were still 11. That tells you how far the field has been spread out so far, that even though we're in the first 15 minutes of the race, you can pit and come out in the middle of the pack. That shows you that most of the field was primarily nearly a lap down.
It's also a fairly short pit stop, fairly short pit stop and pit lane. I mean, it's no Spa. It's no like Zandvoort, for example, where it's you're in, you're out, you're gone. But yeah, so once again, another car to look to keep an eye on. Chamberlain in 725, 11th currently, but has already pitted.
Well, Pilbeam out of the race, I'm pretty sure at this point, pretty much confirming that they were not having a very fun time out there and they have retired from the race. By the way, I figured out why the 19 came down pit lane. I am going to read off the very first steward's decisions here. Warning for car 19 for causing avoidable contact. A racing incident between the 970 and the 78. A second warning increased to a 5-second penalty for car 19 for contact with the 21. So that was a second warning that was elevated to a 5-second penalty due to it being a second warning. 15-second penalty for car 95 for causing a incident and taking out the 78. Position not returned. Apparently the 777 was also involved in that incident. A warning for car 78, fails to hold brakes after having an incident and causing contact with the 777. I'm actually being told that contact with the 777 would have happened regardless. And a 5-second penalty, and I believe this is a brand new one, and is a 5-second penalty for car 19 for taking out the 27. Position not given back. Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit of a bump and grind, and well, this is that accident. You see the 19, they touched it into turn 2, and that was the incident that we saw a little bit earlier. That was that wave flag with the extra small bump added on the way past as well. And now what's going on here? The 404 is being attacked by Deanna. Round the outside again. I didn't think they would. And that's the 69 of Boardman. Boardman's made the move. Can he hang it round?
Oh, it's so close.
Long old way for the 404. He's still got the overlap coming into the second to last corner. The 69 is just about given the amount of room. And well, position gained for Deanna, number 11, now wanting to get back on the tail of Ertan. And Bart Matches taking fire from all directions.
As disappointing as this race started out for the number 11, it's still possible for them to win this race. Think about it. A couple of mistakes, not even accidents, a couple of mistakes dropped them down to fourth. They've got one of those positions back. They're about 5 or 6 seconds off of Ertan and only a few off of Bauer here. They certainly, as we've said before, they have the pace, that 11 car of Dana. It's just about having the pace and not making mistakes is what they're going to have to do. I reckon if they can do it. Now, can and would are two very different things, though. It's going to be exciting either way to see what the 11 can do here.
Yeah, one of those, being able to, in theory, do it is a much different thing. And once again, the 404, pretty much a carbon copy of what happened to him the last lap. But no, just about sneaks the nose up in front of the corkscrew. The 69's off. 69 fishtails, and he's going, and they've stopped. Just about in the gravel trap. That's probably one of the better.
I was going to say, I've never noticed how big that gravel trap was before.
Yeah, that's probably the best point to crash on the circuit. You've got so much runoff space there. I definitely thought we were going to at least see some form of wall. Big scary moment for the 69 though.
Greased Weasel Racing not having a great run post corkscrew there, but like you said, luckily just losing a few positions. Kumpu and Peter Roche through now, so Boardman 69 down to 7th place, but otherwise no real harm or foul there. You just saw that car twitch, didn't you, whenever he was trying to set up for the left-hander, and he was trying to set up and he lost traction. He tried to catch it and it just slid out on him. Very unfortunate.
Very typical mid-engined car characteristic, though. Generally you do not drive a mid-engined car, they drive you, and you simply let them go where they want. And if the car decides to snap, well, that's it, you're gone for it. And front engines will generally, just understeer or slide the rear, but mid-engines, they take no prisoners.
Well, this is the state of the championship. Ertan essentially has to beat Pitchik in the race. Well, he's definitely doing that. Pitchik down to 8th place, Ertan leading, but it's not quite that simple, is it? With just about 57 minutes left to go. It is cooling down in the evening here in California, but Ertan is being run down about 0.2 of a lap by Simon Bauer. And believe it or not, Deanna is actually losing time to Bauer here. And I reckon that is because Bauer is catching Ertan.
Yeah, and I partly think as well that 11 was pushing so hard at the start of the race, with going off and trying to really muscle that car around. It might have been that they've actually just got a tiny bit of graining on those tires. So they're now suffering. Careful, Mr. Bauer. That is not an area you want to go over. There's another part as well that you really don't see in the car until it's too late. Those curbs on the outside are actually cambered away from you. So if you put the one wheel over the rumble strip, like a lot of drivers like to do, you quickly find out that you've bottomed your car out and you lose steering.
Boardman is driving like a man, frustrated here, trying to catch up to the 21 Connection Loss Racing car of Peter Roche. And you can see Boardman's car language completely different than Roche's. Roche's basically just keeping a pace, but Boardman is, he's wrenching on the wheel, as we would say here.
Boardman's driving like a man possessed. He wants that, and he knows what his pace is. He will definitely know that he can get around, and that sometimes can be a bit of your undoing if you're stuck behind a driver like this. You know that I've got more pace than this. I need to get around them. And that can sometimes cause another micro mistake, which at a track like Laguna Seca, we've already seen that can be even more of your undoing. So you've got to keep a level head, keep calm, collected, and the time will come.
I have another theory about Ataberk Ertan I'd like to share, and I'd like to know what you think about this one. What if, because keep in mind, at the beginning of this race, Diana was all over the back of Ertan, and then all of a sudden, Ertan was more than a second and a half away as Peter Roche is going to lose it, and Andy Boardman's going to get a piece of it, but Roche hard into the inside wall after, oh, I felt like he lost it on his own, but contact on the way through by the 69, and now a scary moment here as some of the other cars coming through.
As you to keep it going just about, that was a moment just about, once again, I think it looked like they dipped a wheel over that, that cambered away curb, and it just unsettled the rear of the car, spun off, and Andy Boardman there, just a passenger, suddenly sees a sideways NSX in his windscreen. Where can you really go?
It's almost like NASCAR at that point. There's not a whole lot you can do. You can't really hit the eject button. There's nowhere to hit eject to. You're also too close to it. You just got to kind of hope that you don't, whatever you're about to hit, just don't hit it too hard, as the 21 has made it back to the pit lane for what we can only assume is extensive damage repair. What I was going to say was, I reckon everyone out there, at least in the top 5 or so, are on a fuel save, obviously trying to get to the end of this. I reckon that every time Ertan gets a significant gap, he's not necessarily going max fuel save, but he's going super aggressive fuel save. And I think it has led to Bauer, who is certainly saving himself, but not quite as much, as being able to close in the gap. And who knows, maybe Bauer can force Ertan to run a little harder, because Ertan knows at this point he's in a great position to win the championship. But beyond that, how great would it be to end the champ in style? It's that racing driver mentality. It's, I could let off here and still win, or I can win the championship in the race.
I think, knowing Ertan, I think they're going to go for the latter, really. Why wouldn't you want to end the season with a bang? And especially if they've only had, I think it's, one win, one podium?
One win and 2 podiums. But
two podiums. 1 win, 2 podiums. How nice would it be to have, 2 wins, 3 podiums? Just a nicer amount.
It sounds
numbers,
better.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It sounds a lot better.
Do you know what I think? I think we got the wrong maths guy here. I think you're the maths guy now. 2 wins, 3 podiums. I like that. Over the space of 5 races, that sounds a lot better. And for Ertan, he's definitely going to agree, but a 1.5 second, nearly 2 second advantage, actually, at one point, has completely evaporated as Ertan has been run down by Bauer, and they have distanced themselves from Diana, but Diana was the better part of 4 seconds off and is now only 3.6. So inroads being made for the 11 as well. Meanwhile, Pitchick, Ertan's closest rival, back up to the 7th place position at the moment, as we have had another retirement, and that was not Roche. I thought it was the 21. It was not the 21. 21 is out of the pit lane and circulating again after that damage repair. But this, of course, the lead for first.
Yeah, looking as well on the board, Pitchick might actually be making more inroads soon, because he's got the 69 of Andy Boardman in front of him. But it's one of those questions of how much damage that car sustained. When he mullered the 21 that spun across him, and he said nowhere to go. And you just got to hope that the damage that you receive is minor, or it doesn't upset the car too much. So that might just start slowly bringing Pitchick more and more close. And then, as you said, you don't have to have a big accident here. You don't even have to have a big off to start dropping places. So Ertan has to keep all 4 wheels on the track, and he's got to keep his mind fully focused on the driving, not in the mirror of the 13.
I mean, how many times have we seen it already? Diana dips a few tires off into the dirt, and all of a sudden goes from 2nd to 4th Macho went from 4th to nearly 2nd at one point. Boardman went from a top 5 position to outside of the top 8, and Ertan's lost it. Ertan's lost it in the final turn, and a tap perhaps from Bauer, and that's going to promote Deanna up to the lead. Bauer waits for him, knowing that he's likely going to get a penalty anyway, but he can probably lessen it. And yes, indeed, punt to pass in full effect, unintentional by Simon Bauer there. Did not expect the 14 to break that much, I would reckon, but Deanna leads here nearly halfway into this race. Incredible change of events here.
There we go. That was, like I said, that small accident that can occur. Now Deanna has just rocketed away with it, and now you've got to we have to keep an eye on the 14 and hope that they don't have any severe rear damage. Generally, rear end damage on a mid-engine car is sort of the worst style, because it just starts getting all that more twitchy. You lose your downforce. The rear end, which is already quite scary, gets even more. At least with front damage, you generally just get understeer, so it's not as detrimental. But now for the 14, what an absolute head turn for this race.
Both of our keys to the race today, pre-race, highlighted what you had to do. You had to play a mistake-free race today to have a chance to win. Nobody in the top few have been able to do that today. And somehow Deanna, who 15 minutes ago was several seconds off of the top 3 or 4, finds themselves gifted the win here, or the lead here. Giuseppe Deanna, I don't know when their birthday is, Deanna, but happy birthday to you.
It's kind of the best way sometimes when you, you know, when you've thought that your race is over, or you're too far back now. What are we going to do about that? And you just start going into the we'll just lap and bring it home mode. And then you pass the person you're racing backwards in the gravel trap, and you think, well, that's one way to do it.
Well, the race turned on its head shy of the midway point. And Tom Bryant, head steward, giving me all the slips of paper. Racing incident between the 69 and the 404. We saw that earlier with the minor contact. Racing incident for minor contact with the 404 on a subsequent lap. A warning for car 27 for brake checking the 777. Apparently, the 27 also received a warning for that same incident. Racing incident between the 21 and the 69, and just now 5-second penalty for car 13. Hits 13 brakes late and hits the 14 and loses a position to the 11. Penalty reduced as the 13 waits for the 14 to rejoin. Excuse me, I may have read that incorrectly. 13 brakes late, not brake checks. The 13 brakes late and hits the 14, which is exactly what we saw. Pretty, as Ryan Gill would say, pretty slam dunk there. But again, Bauer knew that a penalty was likely to come, but he could avoid a 15-second one if he waited. But the damage done there, the 11 in the lead now. And if Macho wants to end the championship with a win, work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see what Bauer may do when if Bart Macho picks the pace up again, which we've seen this car, you know, he was really on it, second place type, really hustling some of the drivers up. Will Bauer get out of the way knowing that he's got that 5 second and his position is already doomed? Or is he going to fight it? Especially with that front end damage as well that car will also be carrying. You know, all these might add up to sway a driver's decision. You can see that in the background, that 13 is not as planted through some of these final corners. The front end is washing all over the place.
I would pay you a lot of rupees to hear what Adalbert Ertan said after that contact that lost him the lead. I can guarantee you we could not broadcast it here on RCI TV, but I would still love to hear it. That is so uncommon to see something like that happen, and I think you're about to get the answer, Nelson, to will Bauer move over? And the answer is not on your life.
Because the answer is a resounding no. You can have this position if you're faster.
Which is perfectly fair. There's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, Bauer has that 5 second penalty. but you can't change your race because you have that 5-second penalty. If Bauer is not coming in, then he's not going to serve that. That will be added to his time. Who's to say that Mach's tires don't fall off and Bauer gets 5 seconds ahead? You don't know. You can't race on what ifs. You have to race on the then and now. Nobody in our stewarding box expects the 13 to move over. We don't expect the 13 to move over. They have the right to defend their position, and they're doing fairly in this case. So, it is race on. Well, Ertan, not really in the last lap, making too much inroads onto Anna. Gap sitting at just about 2 seconds. Keep an eye on that, see if that comes down or goes out.
I think part of that as well will be, it will be harder for those drivers now to do the lap times that they necessarily need to do to gain that lap.
Ooh, never mind.
Oh, then there you go. Actually,
0.8 of a second.
I wonder what's caused that then. Then again, we do.
I think Anna's went off.
Yeah, actually, I was going to mention: is it back markers already? It is quite a short track with a lot of back marker action.
No, you're right.
No, is that the 777?
Yes, sir, that is. That's the 777 that's in there. That could have potentially held them up by 0.8. Ertan, if that was the case, Ertan got through there a little bit better. The gap does go back out a couple of tenths, but still a net gain for Ertan, gaining 0.6 of a second, working the lap traffic of the 777 there. I think you're right. I don't think the 11 had another incident. I think that was back marker.
I think so, and I mean, we've said that before as well, and another thing we didn't say that might have been another key to this race is the back marker lap traffic, how to deal with that. This is a very, very short circuit, so you get back markers a lot earlier than you would in, say some of the other circuits that are a bit bigger, a bit more space to play with. You're going to start getting it where your lap will almost be entirely back markers. It may not be clean at all for some of these top running drivers. We've seen it plenty of times in RCI where we've thought that the lead was done, dusted, and that's that. And the incident with the back marker, lost time, all that has just gifted the win to the person behind them.
Well, there's that old saying in racing, I don't want to win by default. I want to race somebody for the win. You can say things like that, but Williams was still really chuffed yesterday. So, I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of truth to that. I'll take a win however I can get it.
I think it depends on the team and the driver of who you've got. I know some sim racers who will just take a win of whatever they want. And there's quite a lot that I know that, they can do some great things. And when you say, oh, that was really good, no, I didn't like it because of X, or, it wasn't a good race because they just fell off the road. They wanted to, actually race for the position and feel like they beat them in that case.
I don't know if it was Bernie Eccleston or who it was. It might have even been Christian Horner for all I know. But years ago, I remember the quote of, nobody wants to win in an unsporting fashion, but they always sign the check and cash it.
Pretty much. And looking back at the action as well, we mentioned this earlier that Curtin, the 38 for the silver class, who was looking like they've pretty much won it already. And they've actually caught back up to the 725 of Chamberlain, who had that early pit stop. So this is now a race for the P1 in silver class. But what is the, do we think the 38 is going to pit here, or are they one of the few who's on this no-stop strategy and the 725 has been drawn back into the jaws because of their pit stop?
That's a very good question. I would like to have the answer for you on that, but I just don't. It's very compelling, this, whenever you have differing strategies. And as odd of a length of a race that is 75 minutes, it has created some fantastic strategy and some excellent drama. And I think here unfolding again, keep in mind, the 38 of Kierton does not need to win this champion. Actually doesn't need to finish on the podium today. to win the silver championship. Just needs a mediocre day, does the 38. But again, dangle a carrot in front of a pig and see if it's hungry, you know. So we'll see how that works out. I think that Kierton might just have a little bit more pace right now, and Chamberlain might still, for whatever reason, either be saving or something. It's kind of hard to tell, really.
Yeah, or it could be that Curtin just has enough fuel to go maybe 3/4 of the race at, you know, Mach 1, but then will have to stop, and that's why a lot of the
Mm,
drivers in the top half of the field seem to have, you know, quite a few slow starts, and they've progressively got faster and faster as they know now that it's safe to do so. It could have been that the 38 has been going blazing guns all this time, and you know, very much closer to the end, we're going to see them dip in, and the 725 is going to run back away. It's all, you never know sometimes with people's fuel burn, how they're driving the car, are they short shifting, and the fuel saving, what are they doing, and it can very much make the make or break the race just depending on what they're planning.
well, we know what Andy Boardman's planting, the 69 in the pit lane for routine stop. They will not try to go the entire distance today. I'd be curious to see if they addressed any sort of damage in the pit lane, but either way, Andy Boardman out of the pit lane and rejoining the track. He'll be just about 14th. Actually, no, he's actually going to be about 17th, I'm pretty sure, whenever it updates. Or at least that's looks like Saudi is directly behind him. I assume he's down there, unless those cars are a lap down, and they very well might be. But board showing Boardman in 14th, and we'll trust the board on this as he has finished his stop. And bit of more drama as the plot thickens here. That is Simon Bauer, who is creeping back into the picture. And here's the race for the silver lead. Chamberlain and Kierton, the 725 and the 38, holding him off is Harley Chamberlain for the time being, as I believe that was Pitchick up in front that went off there a little bit. So certainly racing Chamberlain is the 38.
Yeah, so you could tell they wanted it. Once again, it'll be the same thing that we mentioned earlier for the drivers. It's very nice, isn't it, to close out the season with a win, to sit on the top rung of that podium and know that you know that you did it on the last day. And yeah, now we've got the two Jardier cars next to each other, Chamberlain and Pitchick. Is it the 141? Blue flags waved as well, so I wonder what's going on here. Or is that one of the different cars?
That actually might be. Nope, that is Darren Mulholland. So that is a lapped car. That is not Pitchick in front. I thought that might have been about 5 seconds or so, but it was not. My time over distance visual skills not great. This, of course, these are Jardier community teammates here. And out of the way goes the 777. Very classy move there, as the battle will continue for the silver lead. And as we near the halfway point in the race, just like to say thank you for joining us on your Monday evening. Hope you're well wherever you are in the world. And of course, we invite you to like, subscribe, hit the bell for more GT racing action. Regular service post-summer resuming here at RCI. We have a whole list of championships to announce and bring you in the future. So why not subscribe, hit the bell, don't miss a single race. And at the conclusion of today's race, we will talk about the new Monday championship coming into the fall. Trust me, you're going to want to hear this. You're going to either want to take part or watch. Speaking of which, with new championships starting up soon, you can do more than just watch. You can participate. We have all sorts of splits. Doesn't matter if you're an esports pro or a rookie just starting out, we have a split for you. We'd love to have you in an upcoming series in the future. For more information on how to get started, join our Discord, link in the description for that.
And well, back to the action at hand, as we say. Bauer has really caught up to Ertan. Those last few corners, that last sector, really look like Bauer is the stronger driver in this in that final sector. They were all over, trying to look for the gap, but nothing to be had. But I have a feeling that the writing might be on the wall for the 14. It might be that Bauer has the pace. It's just if he can get by them. And similar for these two, as the 38 takes a bit of a dip into the gravel. That is probably one of the easiest corners to dip two wheels onto the gravel, but still survive it. It's one of the kinder ones to you.
It's very clear to me for that silver battle that the 38 has a little bit more pace for whatever reason. The 38 has a little bit more pace. I suspect that has something to do with the fuel saving potentially going on, or the lack of. And perhaps that is the same story here between Ertan and Bauer. Keep in mind, for the lead about 10 minutes ago now, this was the fight for the lead. Ertan and Bauer, as Bauer shoves it down into the hairpin in one, but just got into the back of Ertan. Did Bauer won't want to make that mistake again. You do it the one time, you get the finger waved at you, and you go stand on the naughty step. What happens if you do it again, I wonder?
I think you will have to get out the old steel ruler, and you'll have a bit of a wrap across knuckles, really, after you've done that multiple times. The other thing as well that is creeping in is that the 404 is sort of slowly coming into the battle. And we have a minor technical problem, ladies and gentlemen. Who unplugged the cable? I'm gonna have to tell them that we need that cable leaving in.
So here's the thing. I might have trod on it, and that might have been my fault, but I'm going to blame Tom Bryant simply because he doesn't have a mic and he can't defend himself. We do rejoin live pictures. 31 and a half minutes left in the race, going nearly 8 p.m. here. The sun dipping over the horizon ever so slightly. Diana leading the race by 3.8 seconds over this man, Adalbert Ertan, who qualified on pole and led most of the opening stanza. It's actually being run down by the third place driver, Simon Bauer. Contact in the final turn got Bauer a 5-second penalty and dropped Ertan down to second. Diana went all the way from third back up to first and has been on cruise control ever since. We still believe that there are strategy shenanigans at play. I love that word, shenanigans. There are strategy shenanigans at play here today. And on top of all of that, Chamberlain and Kierton are nose to tail for the lead in pro as well. It always seems to come back together here at Laguna Seca for one reason or another.
Laguna, I always find it's got when you're driving it, you have to have this certain rhythm, and you get into this flow, and it's once you're in that, you're in the zone. You can do these laps. If something disrupts that, so a mistake, an incident, a back marker, it's sometimes quite hard to get back into that rhythm again, and then the drivers behind you will catch up again. That's kind of what I found, is that if something disturbs a driver, they can often lose a lot of time. But I mean, for Diana, for example, the number 11, first place, they've pulled out a 3.8-second lead, almost 3.9 seconds now. So yeah, they're just cruising along, very happy in their little zone, and showing exactly what they need to do with the rhythm.
Just looking at chat, Joe Gleason giving me a bit of a raising here. He's asking if the indicators conversation that we had last week would have helped at Spa. Of course it would. Also, it would also help if the event organizers for Formula One had a backbone. But until they find their spine, we will continue to have problems with the decision making of the FIA. Hopefully they can get a transplant for that sometime soon. Lawson, we had a whole discussion last week, and I have been absolutely inundated all week with comments about using incorrect indicators to signal people by you in a race setting. I mentioned that there is no consensus for motor racing drivers on if you indicate where you want them to go versus using an indicator how you would in traffic. Again, there is no general consensus with racing drivers. They will use them however they feel they need to in the moment, though I think all completely sane individuals will say that you're supposed to use them how you would use them in a traffic situation.
I mean, that's what I do. It just kind of saves, a lot of the time saves confusion. If you think, you just use it how you would in the car. I've met a couple of drivers that have done the indicating which way they want me to go, and it just confuses you. You end up nearly running into the back of them.
Yeah, because you're expecting them to move over, but they don't. I also was in jest mentioning that I'm a bit fan of anarchy, and I do a little bit of both. But of course, not on the street, because that would be dangerous. Speaking of dangerous, Kieran nearly loses it there. Was all over the back of Chamberlain and has been for the last 5 or 6 circuits, but nearly, that was even more big than I thought it was. That was almost mega.
Yeah, that was very much when you think it's all game over, manages to get that car back in a straight line somehow. And we've seen that 38 actually run wide there quite a few corners now, so it's I don't know. I think they've got a similar thing to what the 11 had earlier on in the race. We saw the 11 go off at the corner before the corkscrew, the fast left, at least 2 or 3 times, trying to push it so hard. And I think that possibly the 38 has got the same problem in this sector.
Yes, indeed. Well, mentioned earlier that the gap was going out in Diana's favor, but for Giuseppe, it is not that case anymore. It's actually coming down as Ertan has clawed back the better part of 8/10ths in the last couple of laps. And that's really impressive considering Ertan is still being hounded by Simon Bauer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he can't really afford to have, any kind of big mistake. But saying that though, look, the gap has now come out. I think the 13 had another little twitch. They were around about 0.8 of a second away, and now they're 2.8 that lap. So something's happened to the 13 again. It's put them back in the clutches almost of the 404.
Well, I can tell you that I don't know if we even saw the contact on lap 21 between the 13 and the 404, but no further action. The 404 brakes late and taps the 13, minor contact, no position gained or lost. So no further action, racing incident there, but that's how close they had been for quite some time. But the 13 here finding themselves in a bit of strife, losing all of that time at least.
Yeah, and trying to continue it back on the charge. And speaking of someone back on the charge again, the 38, after they had their quite hairy moment, they're now once again hunting down the 725 of Chamberlain. So as you theorized earlier, the 38 does have the pace. It's just if they can get by. And those small mistakes that they keep making once they've got right up to the back of the 725, it was just putting themselves under a little bit too much pressure, I think, to get the move done. Because they're now, they were 1.2 crossing the line. It's now almost a second just coming out of sector 1.
Jake Boswell, I wonder if we can answer a question from the chat here. If we can go on board with Chamberlain real quick. They're wondering if the sun is in the eyes of the drivers as they round the back area and the corkscrew and the run up to the line. Let's see here. We're riding on board with Harley Chamberlain, leading the silver class coming up the hill. The sun, there it is. That won't be in the driver's eyes. That'll actually be out of their line of sight. It's only in ours because our camera is kind of crooked to the left a little bit. And then right as you get to the corkscrew, there is just enough tree coverage that it blocks it. Now, it will be a pain in that corner they just came through. And again, here, as you're trying to find your exit out of the penultimate corner, and of course, here, just peeking out from behind the Fanatec sign, it can be a bit of a problem here, I think.
Yeah, and luckily, the cars that you're driving as well, it is a lot worse in certain cars. The Honda is quite a low slung beast, very low, roof line. You've got the big sun strip, and you sit quite low in the car anyway. I've noticed it before racing here, though, that when you drive, the big tower blocks of cars like your Bentleys, GTR, any other high-sitting cars, you really do notice that sun. And could this be a move for the position? 38 looks up the inside. The 725 is on the gravel, which will compromise their exit, and the 38 has gone through.
That was a heck of a move there, and one that certainly you had to fight for your right to exist on the racetrack there a little bit. But either way, the 38 through, leading in silver class now. Clearly on a different pace, perhaps a different strategy. We'll have to find out to Chamberlain. But considering how the first part of this race went for the 38, I didn't think they were going to be much of a factor. It's possible they were saving all of their fuel immediately and now have been able to turn up the wick a little bit as well. Keep in mind, Oliver Kierton was nowhere in this race. About 10 to 15 minutes in, they were third or fourth in their class, and now all of a sudden they've come to life, and in the span of a couple of corners has already gapped Chamberlain by a second. That's incredible stuff.
Yeah, and the 725 looked so strong at the start of the race, starting that high up. They were really hanging on to the top 5. It was basically a small breakaway pack. And they had that early pit stop, which maybe that wasn't as much as their strategy as maybe a problem that we didn't see, the spin or something. But ever since that pit stop, they've been dropping off the pace. So it's, the 38 has come right to the end. Always some action here at RCI. It's never done until that checkered flag waves.
Tom Bryant, lead steward here, requesting that we don't talk about indicators anymore. He doesn't have brain cells to lose at this point. Joe Gleason telling us that that's last week, that this week's topic of discussion is pizza toppings. Very simple, folks. Don't put fruit on pizza. I think that's a fairly fair thing to say. If you want fruit on pizza, what you're looking for is a pie with a top crust, not one with just a bottom crust and marinara on it, I think. Michael Redford says that this series has broken his soul, and you can see the 95 sitting in the pit lane. So Michael Redford joining us from the pit lane, frustrated with the NSX Cup. It is a difficult old series, Redford. Appreciate your effort.
Yeah, they are. They're definitely interesting, are these cars, and I say interesting for words that I cannot use on air, I think I will say. But as I said earlier, you never see NSXs ever used anymore, and I think there is kind of a reason for that. There are just more competitive, faster, easier cars to drive, and the NSX might have been great in its day, but unless we get a 2021 update example with the brand new Acura NSXs, I don't think we're going to see many of these cars in league racing. And the 35 doing a pretty much carbon copy of the move that made the 38 lose their position, but holds it, and there's a bit of a contact. The 82 just about manages to get away with that, lives to fight another day. A bit of a door bashing there between the 35 and the 82. Oh, what a mad moment for them, trying to get through the corkscrew now. Still, the 82 is not given up, and it's another one of these moments, like the 38 and 725. Looking at these two drivers, I believe that the 82 might have that tiny bit more pace, but can they get by them at all? We've seen this throughout the race with strategies, you know, drivers going long, going short. And I think all of this now is coming towards the end, where people are either turning up the wick or trying to put the candle out.
And quite frankly, I'm just not sure who's doing. I mean, it's obvious what they're doing, but I don't know the strategy. We were told by Mr. Bartmacha that he was confident that the majority would be trying to make it to the end. And that's fair enough. I think that is happening, as Steven Van Kampen is trying to not give up this position to Crozen. And an excellent defense there will end up seeing them both single file. A little bit of a touch of the dirt for Crozen there. But I think Macha's right. I think that's what most people have been doing. The problem with that is were they saving early? Are they saving late? Are you sure everyone saved enough? These are the questions, and unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get the answer to those questions for another 18 minutes.
Well, we'll get the answer to the question. Is it enough? If we see some cars that have spotted to the side of the road with only maybe 2 or 3 minutes to go, could this be another move? The 82 looking around the 35, possibly going for the cutback, trying to get the better launch down the straight. But it's not to be, not with match machinery. It's very difficult to. Will the slipstream just give the 82 what they need coming into the second turn? Dive down the inside, given the space. There's a long old way to hang around all the way around the outside of the 35, and position conceded there. 82 up into the top 10.
That's how you draw it up. That whenever you go to bed at night, that's how you envision the pass. Clean and precise position for Crozen, and for Van Kampen, it's almost like the writing was on the wall there a little bit. Certainly fought it fairly, but it's going to be a step backwards for him. Remember when the 38 was trying to get around Chamberlain? Well, that's a 7-second lead, and very clearly the 38 of Kierton on a completely different strategy at this point.
Yeah, they are on something even monumental. They've been saving all of their fuel right at the start, or something has happened.
My veggies. I love roasted peppers and stuff like that. I'll take a supreme as well. I love onions on pizza. I know that some people are very divisive about that. They don't like onions on their pizza. But me, for instance, I rather enjoy it. And all jokes aside, I reckon if you have pineapple and ham on your pizza, which you often do, I think that's a fine pizza. I just wouldn't have anything else on it in that case.
Which is a fair assumption. And well, looking back out the window and back to the NSX racing, kind of calmed down a little bit. We've seen the people who've really turned up the heat towards the end, and those who have maybe blown the candles out for the night. But otherwise, it's kind of all settled down. Nico Kumpu's been a bit up and down the ladder today as well. We've seen this driver go from, great in practice and qualifying, then down the field and up the field. It's been one of those days, I think.
That's very true. Where did Nico Kumpu come from? Going backwards, not so much, mate. You're going forwards up into the top 5. And you talk about the race calming down. Well, it certainly has done. The stewards are going to agree with you. There's only been 2 incidents in the past 10, 15 minutes. A warning for car 111, unsafe rejoining the corkscrew, no contact but dangerous driving. Racing incident between the 82 and the 35. I think we saw a bit of that. So that's the only things that have happened recently. And here we have it. Whoa.
Bit of a scary moment there for the 111. Manages to keep it on the track, and 223 is it's the wrong way, mate.
Being told that nobody heard our pizza conversation, Mawson.
This is just a tragedy, really.
Do you know what I find about us that's strange? Normally with commentary, you're trying to have 2 people that are a bit different. We actually generally agree with each other, which I'm sure is very boring for most people. But I like working with people I like, so
Well, if you want that, ladies and gentlemen, you just need to tune into. Is it the Fridays now that you and Mike comms? That's always it has a bit of spark to it.
Lately, I'm afraid it's me and whoever else I can drag into the booth with me, I'm afraid.
Mike is a very busy man. He's missing out on all this fantastic racing, you see. We'll have to maybe when the next seasons roll around, we'll see him a bit more, because some of them coming up look quite interesting.
Yeah, it has been a very dynamic summer series. We had several smaller championships. We had a couple of small Monday champs, a couple of small Friday and Saturday championships as well that were broadcast, and they were just sort of middle of the summer champs, simply because the last thing anyone wants to do for a summer, especially if you're a top level driver, is you want to be chained to a long series in the middle of your summer. And of course, there are a lot of people that are busy elsewhere. So the simple answer for not only RCI, but other sim racing communities as well, is to just have smaller little mini championships until racing season comes along again. And here we are, nearly September, and it's just about racing season again. Everyone that has taken a bit of a holiday on the summer getting the itch to come back, and Van Kampen going the wrong way. Andy Boardman getting a position back. Keep in mind, Boardman pitted earlier. Looked like a routine pit stop to us, maybe an extra second or 2 from the damage that he received after a car spun off in front of him. I believe that was Peter Roche, in fact, if I remember correctly, that did that. But Boardman, 1 step outside of the top 10. Nico Kumpu has work to do. Pitchik behind him for the 5th place position here.
And once again, might be one of those where these drivers are on slightly different strategies, ever so slight though, not as the drastic that we've seen, say the 38 and the 725. But I keep looking, and looking at the lap times as well for the 141 and Kumpu of the 25 in front. Once again, it just looks like by only maybe a 10th or 2 every single time round, the 141 is slightly faster.
Well, the championship coming down to the final 11 minutes. The sun setting on not only Laguna Seca, but the championship itself. It is looking like Adalbert Ertan will be your Pro Series champion. He only needed to finish 1 position in front of this man, Ola Pitchik. It's looking like he's going to do a little bit better than that. It might not be the result that Ertan wanted. Certainly Ertan was probably looking to win this race, but it hasn't gone that way. Contact between him and Bauer has led him to running in second, and now 5+ seconds off of Giuseppe Deanna's pace. But a championship nonetheless, as Pitchick trending in the right direction, but not. He's going to run out of time, unfortunately, for Ola. And for Olivier Cureton, it has been a day where he has trended upwards the entire race and looks to be on the gas here near the end of this one. He climbed inside the top 3 in silver and now has driven all the way to the lead, an 8th overall in front of pole-sitting driver Harley Chamberlain, who's fading a little bit. It's just been Giuseppe Deanna in the chat. How is that possible? I believe that's the significant other of Giuseppe Deanna. GG. No, that actually might be Giuseppe themselves. The straightaways often are not very long here, but it might be long enough to be able to type out that message.
I mean, I've seen drivers do it before. The only other driver who I remember is Jordan Grant-Smith, who we've seen race around here before. I remember he was doing a thing with G2 Esports when he qualified for that, and he was typing to us on Discord in the race, and we're like, you should be focusing on the people in front. And it's just, nah, it's okay, I know my strategy. It's like, I can't, you know, if I'm driving a car, I can't think of anything else, let alone, like, you know, thinking about typing and what I'm doing for later on for TU, for example. If I'm driving the race car, I am driving the race car. I'm doing nothing else.
Oh, sideways is Kumpu there. I think he's going to lose his spot to Pitchick. Ola Pitchick's going to go down the inside, and if he can hang here, he might actually have the run out of this corner. Ran wide by Kumpu, who's going to defend the corner. Pitchick will not appreciate that, and here comes Maurer in the background. I haven't talked about Maurer almost at all today. I was actually curious if Maurer was even in this race. It's how quiet of a day that they were having, but look at them now, late in this thing, having a fight for the top 5. Redford asking, is it commentator's curse if I say GG 10 minutes into before the race ends? You know it is, Michael Redford, but go ahead.
I mean, we have the great power as the commentators, as we know. We must use this power wisely, but we have been known before to talk about people, and the next moment you see them backwards.
Interesting warning being handed out here. First of all, a warning for car 9. The 9, it is with the 29. I think we're going to see a replay of this. I don't believe we saw this, but broke late and decided to go rather wide and dove instead of the corkscrew, resulting in a takeout. But the position was given back. So that's interesting. A warning for car 9 for an incident involving the 25 where they dove down the corkscrew. So that's interesting. So they're separated now, but only by a car. But that happened on lap 44. You really do get a lot of laps here in an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, we've still maybe got, well, you'll have over 50 laps easily. You know, maybe 51, 52, 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes left. It is an awful lot of long time around this course. That's why some people really don't like it. It's not necessarily the layout or driving. What people don't like is that any race over 20 minutes feels like it just drags on forever, because, you know, you've gone through that corkscrew now 49 times and you've not even finished the race.
So Tom Bryant, head steward, has corrected that there was a typo in the incident report that we received, and I thought that was weird as a steward myself to hear that there was a takeout that only resulted in a warning. That was a mistype. Minor contact, not a takeout, corrects Tom Bryant, between the 9 and the 25. Now that makes more sense. Minor contact, missed the corkscrew, and had minor contact with the 29, or the 25 rather. So a warning for car number 9. That's more like it. Thank you, Tom Bryant, and the entire stewarding team for the work that you've put in today. they do a lot of work that I don't think a lot of the broadcast or people outside the broadcast see at home. Not only are they stewarding the race, keeping things safe and fair for everybody, they're also running after us broadcasters, making sure that we understand what's going on in the race. Not only for our benefit, obviously, but for yours at home. So a big pat on the back for the stewards as per always. And again, it's been a fairly difficult day here for the broadcast team ourselves. We had to very quickly throw together a broadcast team for today, and Mr. Jake the Bosmeister Boswell has been rolling with the punches. So a hand to him. And Ryan Mawson, always a pleasure to be in the box with you. We'll consider this a warm-up for Night Owl Season 6 starting next week.
Yeah, absolutely, and that one's going to be good to get back on what was our bread and butter for a while. You know, it's the season that I started comms on, and kind of has become mine and yours little random home. It's where all the cool people hang out, and we talk about various random things during the event.
We sure do, and well, it's going to be a very interesting sort of fall here at RCI. Post-race, we're going to talk about some of the championships coming up, new seasons of GT4. The Endurance Championship starts this week. Night Owl starts in a week from, actually in 2 weeks technically, but not this Saturday, but the 11th of September. That championship starts with Ryan Mawson and myself, and of course the reveal of the September Monday Championship coming up. Brian Gill's really proud of it. He is the admin after all.
Ryan Gill is the admin, broadcaster, commentator, and anything in between, I think.
He slices, he dices. Meanwhile, so does Olapechik, who's slicing and dicing on the final corner. There's going to be contact there between him and the 25 of Nico Kumpu. But also look in the background, that's still Maurer, who's looking to get a position, potentially thinking about taking it up the outside. In fact, will follow the car that's going a bit faster. Side by side still they are, as Kumpu is going to be ran into the inside and bounced wide is going to be Pitchik. And again, somehow the 25 hangs on. Nico Kumpu will retake that spot. He had completely lost that spot on the front straightaway and got it back. That will do nothing but frustrate Ala Pitchik there, as he had control of the corner and then all of a sudden got removed. And meanwhile, Maurer doesn't care about any of that, looking for sixth place.
Maurer's just watching this up ahead, waiting for that moment. And as that moment comes, that is a slight slide for him. Not going to do anything for the end of his race, but actually might not. Ooh, Pitchik. And he's going to lose it. He's going to lose it. Number 9 is off into the wall. That is the first time we've actually seen someone go wide and lose it there. This is what I was on about. You try and get it back to the track, and it just becomes a slide that you cannot correct anymore. A sad end for the number 9, who was looking like if he could have just hung on to the back of that battle, he was looking like any moment that the door was open, he was going to pounce. He had a brief look up turn 1 and decided the better of it.
Well, for Franz Maurer, it's not going to end the way that they had drawn it up, unfortunately. A sharp trip into the wall on the way to the corkscrew. Not an uncommon mistake by any driver, rookie and pro alike. And had a shot at a top 5. Well, that's unfortunately gone now. Olivier Kierton here for the Kraken Engineering 38. Leading in class, trying to take away the 7th place away from Franz Maurer here, who is certainly a bit frustrated and heavily damaged, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, he would assume so. Any kind of hit into the wall at any speed with that will cause some significant damage, and more dust up ahead as well, as those two continue to fight the Pitchik and Kumpu. They ain't done with that yet. And as I can hear in my ear, the leader's on the final lap, so the white flag is down for Diana, the number 11, last time around this track.
Well, the last lap, and what a race it has been for Giuseppe Diana. Was 2nd place, pounding Atterberg Ertan for much of the first 15 minutes, had their own dramas, dropped all the way back to fourth place after a couple of what we would consider minor mistakes. The pack was just so close together. Fought their way back to third, was catching Ertan and Bauer. Bauer, who was trying to get the lead away from Ertan, made contact in the final turn. Ertan goes wide. Bauer waits, and that allowed Giuseppe D'Anna to completely close the gap and take the lead. And it has been all Giuseppe since then. And it's looking like a win in the series finale for them. Just a couple of turns. It hasn't been perfect for the number 11, but it hasn't mattered. Giuseppe D'Anna is going to round the final turn, come up the straightaway, and win the final race here in the NSX Cup. Excellent stuff.
The leader has finished the race.
And there's the number 11 takes the checkered flag. It will be second place for Atabek Ertan. A great drive. You just got to hope, or you just left thinking, aren't you, of what could have been had not that been a spin around.
Simon Bauer will come across the line third, but they will lose that spot to Bart Macha. Bart Macha will actually finish third. The 5-second penalty relegating Simon Bauer back to the fourth place position. Nico Kumpu, as all these cars coming off, streaming one after another. Kumpu fifth, Pitchik sixth. Maurer will stay ahead and finish seventh. And the 38 of Olivier Kierton and the 38 will win the silver class and win the race to boot. An excellent season, a dominant affair for the 38, resulting in another win and a championship. Harley Chamberlain, ninth overall and second in that class. Boardman rounds out the top 10, and Abakumov will inevitably finish third in that class after a crazy race in silver. Van Kampen, Sontag, Crozen, Roche, Mahalan, Sardi, and Redford, the rest of your finishers. The results confirmed here. Overall podium, Giuseppe D'Anna, Ataberk Ertan, and Bart Macha, your podium overall. And your champion in pro confirmed, Ataberk Ertan is your pro champion here in the NSX Cup.
Yes, even despite all of that, he knew that it didn't matter. All you had to do was just keep your head down, even despite the spin, despite being hounded left, right, and center. He knew that he just had to continue on, actually cross the line, gain the points, and that was that. So a fantastic season and fantastic drive to them. And as he says, Curtin, what a drive coming from basically nowhere in that 38 all the way up the field. The 725, who we thought had it from the start, they were miles ahead of their fellow silvers. With that early pit stop, just put them on the back foot, and the 38 came roaring by at the last moment. Obviously, they picked the right strategy. We'll have to see what the Bart Matcher thinks of that. I think the strategy god played it right once again. And well, what a great final race to come and commentate on. I'm glad that I could have this opportunity. It's been a great one.
Well, one final thing coming in from head steward Tom Bryan, a 5-second penalty for car 141 for dive bombing and making a contact and an aggressive overtake on the 25. So we'll see how that works out for the 141. I don't think that will actually affect them, but that will be applied post race. Well, folks, the racing is done in this championship, but the new Monday championship is anything but done. The only thing done with that is what the championship is going to look like. Well, here at RCI, I am proud to announce that the new Monday championship is going to be a Lamborghini Super Cup. GT3 Lamborghini Huracans and Super Trofeo cars. 7-race calendar and pre-qualifying starts on September 6th. And folks, sign-ups are open right now. If you're interested in some Lamborghini Super Cup, 2 classes, GT3 Lambos and Super Trofeo cars, 7 races, pre-qualifying on the 6th. Sign-ups are open now. Get over to the RCI Discord, sign up for that champ. Spaces available in both categories for all of the different classes. We would love to have you there. And again, like I said, even if I wasn't participating in the booth, which I might not be, I'm still going to watch that Lamborghini fest. You'd never guess Ryan Gill thought that one up.
I was going to say, I have a feeling I know what staff member might have dreamed that idea up, but yeah, that's going to be one to watch. Not if just for the racing, but for the sound, and the hills will be alive to the sound of V10 screaming. And I wonder what mad drivers we're going to get in the Super Trofeos. You know, like the Porsche Masters, where we had the Porsche Cups and the GT4s, and the type of driver who would drive the Cup they are a different breed. I think the people who are going to pick the Super Trofeo are definitely going to be one of those as well.
Do you know what's interesting, Mawson? Sometimes the faster drivers pick the Super Trofeo because it is a different challenge. So we'll have to see how that all shakes out. Pre-qualifying on the 6th next week. Can't wait to see what happens with that championship. Well, that's actually not it for all the championships restarting here in the next week or so. And that starts this Friday, the brand new Friday Enduro Series starting on the 3rd of September. We'll have myself in the booth with one of the Ryans. I think that's going to be Ryan Gill. And Stewie behind the cameras. The Friday Enduro Champ's going to be fantastic. This sort of the best world between a sprint and a endurance race. And can't wait to see with that, of course, all these races being live stewarded. And in addition to next week's pre-qualifying for the new Lamborghini Cup, the Thursday GT4 series gets started as well. Season 4 of GT4 on September the 9th. That being brought to you by Josh and Tim. Can't wait to tune in to see what they cook up in the booth. And of course, Night Owl returns in a week or so. Not this Saturday, but next. That'll be myself, Jesse Lee, and Mr. Ryan Mawson for the traditional Night Owl in the traditional time. It should be a lot of fun. Folks, don't just watch it. Get involved. Join our Discord. Sign up for an upcoming series. We would love to see you on the track in one of those series. And before we sign off for the championship, just a big congratulations to all the drivers here for the NSX Cup that made it to the finale today. Ryan Mawson, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. What an amazing things to look forward to. Lamborghinis, Thursday GT4. That was amazing to watch the last time. Night Owl, and just remember people to stay tuned and hit that bell. You won't miss a thing, man.
Excellently said. Mawson, thank you for coming in and filling in for the broadcasters that could not be here this season. And a big thank you to everybody who watched this series. It's been a pleasure bringing it to you. A big final thank you to all of our partners, Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec, and Sim Racing GP. Get a discount off your driver coaching at Driver 61 by using the RCI discount code. And we will see you next time. I will see you on Friday for the start of the Friday Endurance Championship. Until then, have a safe week and have a good night.
And see you at the next one.
it.